We've already reviewed our many contractions, and we've talked about some of the times when those contractions may be used in our writing, and some of the times when contractions really should not be used in our writing. Could somebody please raise their hand and tell me when we may use contractions in our writing? Yes, very good. We use contractions when we write dialogue. We use contractions in informal writing. People speak using contractions, and so that's when we use them in our writing. It's perfectly acceptable. And we have come up with some nice captions for our sample storyboard template. This is just one frame, but I like what you came up with. It looks like they're at a restaurant. Let's order something special. These are spoken words. It is perfectly appropriate to use contractions here, and the reply is, I'd like that. It's a special day. So we understand that there are times when we can use contractions, but it's very important for us to understand that there are times when we should not use contractions. And when are those times? Please raise your hand and tell me. Yes, we should not use contractions when we are writing anything formally, like a term paper or a research paper or a cover letter to someone that we're hoping to have a job interview with. So there are times when we should not use contractions. Another one of those times that many people forget is that we never use a contraction at the end of a sentence. So contractions are great. We should use them when we are writing dialogue. You'll use them when you write your narratives. And also, we should not use contractions when we are writing anything formal. Very good. Before we get on to our contractions worksheets and our race to the board game, I want to make sure that you understand some of the trickier contractions that there are. Now, these first on the board that I have displayed, I think they're pretty easy. Weren't is were not, don't, do not, doesn't, does not. These are all pretty easy, but there are some that are a little bit trickier. For instance, this one, we would, could mean we'd could mean we would. For instance, we'd like to get started on the next activity, or it could mean we had. We'd seen Yosemite, and we'd like to see Yellowstone. So it has two meanings. And there are other contractions that are the same way. One of them is he's. What does he's mean? What two words make up the contraction he's? Please tell me. Yes, he is. For instance, he's a good teacher. He's a fine student. He's good at math. How about another meaning for the contraction he's? He's. Yes, he has. He's been to Texas. He's seen the Grand Canyon, whatever it might be. And then another one that is very similar to that is what's. What does what's mean? What's mean? What does what's mean? What is? Yes, like what's the time right now? What's happening? But what can also mean what has. What's happened in the past? What has happened in the past? Another one is whose. Remember, whose should be spelled W-H-O apostrophe S when we mean who is or who has? Who's ready to start? Who's seen the Pacific Ocean? So there are many different meanings. We have to be very careful. We use the context in which they're written to help us determine the definition and also to help us use them appropriately. Okay, so we'll do our contractions worksheets, and then we're going to have fun with our race to the board activity. And I'll have you form 2 separate lines, please. Yes, form 2 lines. You'll all get a chance. And I'm going to give the person that's first in line a marker. Okay? And the person who's first in line will rush to the board when the game starts, and you will make a contraction out of the words that are written on the board. So each student should come to the board, cross off the letters that are deleted when the contraction is made, and write the contraction directly beside those words. You don't have to go necessarily from the top to the bottom. If it's your turn and you're holding the marker, you rush to the board as quickly as you can, and you go ahead and make a contraction out of whichever pair of words you feel comfortable with. So the first person will rush to the board, they'll cross off the letter or letters that are deleted when the contraction is formed. They'll write the contraction next to it, and they'll get back to their line, handing the marker to the next student in line. And of course, the one who already wrote will go to the end of the line, and they'll wait for their next turn. We're going to have 2 sets of words. There'll be 2 lines of students, and the team that gets their list of words done first accurately will win. Let's go.